My name's Morris. I've been at La Genie for the last 10 years. And I work in a press shop. The press shop's a production unit in which the manufacture of a car commences. To begin with, when first arriving in a factory like this, you're very impressed by, first of all, the big machines, especially in the press shop where it's very noisy. It takes a lad about a month to get into the way of it, both voice and ears, but gradually he gets used to it, as you do with everything. To make this car, we start with rolls of steel. Now these rolls, which weigh about 20 tons, stop first at the inspection section, where there's damage, to check on whether the quality is acceptable. And sometimes they're rejected because of defects in the material. When the spools have been inspected, they go into the stores by an open train. And here they remain until they're cut up into the lengths required for production. And the spools carried on a cradle, and the sheet steel then passes through the cleaning plant. Now these are the sheet cutting lines. They're automatic machines that cut up blanks to widths and lengths that are predetermined by an electronic system. And when the blanks are being cut to size, they're stored ready to move onto the presses. During pressing, there's an initial operation on the press that gives the part its shape. There are 800, 1,000 and 1,200 ton double acting presses, followed by 3, 4 or 5 single acting presses. Each operator can work either sitting down or standing up, and his job is to place the part under the tool and check that it's correct position. As the batch is being produced, samples are taken. And an inspector checks on the appearance of the part. Safety is absolute on the presses. And the men find it less tiring than manual production. You can imagine that the press tools fitted to these presses are of a high degree of precision. This precision is obtained by skilled workers, fitters, turners, millers and so on in the tool room. When these panel work parts are being cut out and pressed, they move on into stores, ready to be sent to the bodywork assembly shops. We've no more to do with them.
I'm Jean Santerre. I'm 26 years old and I've been working in the body assembly shop for the past 5 years. Body assembly is simply putting together the parts made by the press shops by joining them together with electric welds. In fact, bodybuilding as it's done today. Body assembly shops consist of two separate sections. You have the production of the body itself, and in the second section, the production of the sub-assemblies. On all the body assembly lines, there are safety guards right round the machines. There are two sorts of press line. The press lines which have transfer machines in them, and the press lines that have conveyors between each press. On these, the parts are carried from press to press by the conveyors, whereas on the transfer presses, the part doesn't have to be handled between the two presses. Preliminary welding lines, there are fixtures carrying the parts into the press so that each is held in the right place. On the final welding lines, only the part is carried through on a transfer machine. It's automatic, you see. It's carried from one to the other. Certain press lines make 200 spark welds. On one press, on average, use 50. So you see what can be done with 4 presses. At a rough guess, it takes 4,500 to 5,000 electric spot welds to assemble a GS. You have to wear goggles in the shop to protect you against sparks. Every day, the body assembly shops produce 6,500,000 spot welds. When the body parts are finished, they're taken by conveyor to the body assembly turntable. And this is where the body of the new car is built up. The body, as it comes off the turntable, moves onto a roof fitting line where it receives its roof. From this line, it goes on to the body assembly finishing line, where the final assemblies are fitted to it. Now you can recognize the sort of car it's going to be. After finishing, they're really dealing with a car, not with bits of sheet steel. The bodywork's then taken to the paint shop.
My name is Billy Blondo, and I work in the paint shop. When I started, I had some trouble in getting used to spray painting. I was on primer for around 2 months, and when I picked up the trick of it, I was passed on to finish coat. There, it's more interesting because one changes the colours. And anyway, the type of work is better, isn't it? When the car comes in from the body assembly shop, it passes down a tunnel It's degreased, flushed off, and then treated with phosphate, first of all, as a better key for the paint, and secondly, to protect the steel. When it goes into the electrophoretic bath, the chaps connect safety cables to it. Ah, the electrophoretic, there's the thing. It's the latest. It consists of passing an electrical current through the car. And the car's the positive pole, and immersing it in a bath in which there's 180 cubic meters of paint, which is the negative pole. When the car comes out of the bath, it's fully painted, even inside the hollow sections. This is its first protective coat. After this, the car's given a second coat, both inside and out, of surface. All the electro paint defects are removed. Then the car passes into booths and is painted with surfacer. As it moves into the surfacer section, the car is entirely rubbed down. The car moves forward, obviously on a conveyor. It's painted with the first coat of surface both inside and out. The roofs are automatically painted by a robot. After this, the car gets a second coat of surfacer both inside and out. Now the cars move into the finish coat booths. And we now have the stoving of the finish coat at between 130 and 135 degrees, and then on to inspection. At every point for each operation there are inspectors passing from operation to operation, making random checks. And there's a final inspection of the paintwork, not only on the outside of the car, but on the inside as well. All the various sections are removed, separated from the body, which is taken to the assembly shop, as are the sub-assembly sections on a suspended conveyor.
My name is Elian, and I work as an inspector on the car finishing section. The bodies arrive on the conveyor and move on to the initial finishing line. On the initial finishing line, the inside of the car is trimmed. In parallel with the initial finishing line, the engine gearbox assembly is mounted on the cradle. The body comes in on the conveyor and is fitted over the mechanical assembly. It's at this point that the bodywork of the car and its mechanical assembly, together with the front and rear wheels, are fitted together. After these operations, the engine is run and the idling speed is adjusted. On the third finishing line, the car, now on its own wheels, receives the rest of its equipment and then is subjected to a whole host of inspection operations, an important part of which is the hydro-pneumatic suspension test. Then the car moves off to the weatherproofing section. I'm sure that everything's working properly. This one's all right. I pass it over to the testers.